Well, welcome back to the next installment of the Champions Podcast. Today's going to be a pretty special day. Um, we're going to talk a lot about gratitude and the idea of Thanksgiving, because we're kind of ushering into the holidays. What a great time! And so today, Heather's going to talk a lot about. We're going to talk together, but Heather's going to do a lot of it about what is this time of the year mean for her. And I don't know how we're going. I know that when we name these or when we title these episodes, especially the next two or three in line with the holidays, we're going to talk about the different seasons, because we want to be able to walk through the seasons of the year with you, especially in this holiday season, so that you can kind of see what it means to us and what is the purpose of the holidays? What is the purpose of Thanksgiving, Christmas, what have you? And so, Heather, what does this time of the year mean to you? Let's start with that way.
So, if some people don't know my story, I have cystic fibrosis and I've had three organ transplants, two double lungs, and a kidney this year. And so, I've always been a lover of the holiday season, especially Christmas, but I enjoy Thanksgiving. And I think a lot of that, it doesn't come from gifts. I want to make that clear. It doesn't come from gifts that are under the tree, it comes from the meaning of why we celebrate, which is Jesus, and then having family time. And I love the decorations and just feeling joyful. But for me, it's oddly enough that my first and second double lung transplant, I was going through a season of waiting for the transplant when it was the holidays. And then, of course, when I was waiting for a kidney, I had 2 years of holiday seasons that were very difficult and didn't really know if it would be the last. And so for me, being able to celebrate it, and obviously it means something special to have family time, have the food that you may only get once a year, or just celebrating the joy and what it means, but it's on such a deeper level for me because I can always remember where I was specifically at that time of year. I can remember how I felt and not wanting to let my family be even more disappointed, say, well, I really don't know. I'm having hope, but I really don't know if this is the last one. I mean, and even put a strain on my family in a way because we were all wondering. We were praying, but we were wondering, is this the last one we're going to have together? And so for me, it's just such an amazing feeling to be able to go through this time and say, I don't have to stress. I don't have to worry about, is this my last? I talk about often with a friend of mine that we're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I don't want to get so lost in that I can't appreciate where I am now. And so for me, I feel like it just makes me feel like a good high, joyful Jesus high to say, this is what he's done for me. This is what he's done for my family. And I can actually go through the holiday season and actually enjoy it without worrying about is my kidney failing, worrying about are my lungs failing, worrying about where my next breath is coming from, all the things that, even Thanksgiving, for several years, I couldn't even eat the food because high sodium, high phosphorus, couldn't do it with the kidney. Was having to do dialysis during the holidays. I mean, even on Christmas Eve last year, I was doing dialysis. So, I mean, for me, it's just like a total transformation. And I just feel so much gratitude to say, thank you, God. Thank you for allowing me to see this chapter.
You said something about, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I can't help it. You said something about the waiting, um, that I think is so neat, um, first and foremost because of what waiting is. When we go into like when we get into Christmas, then yeah, we'll do a completely different episode on that. But like when you think about like Christmas and the season before the season of Christmas from a Christian perspective, there's the season of Advent, which is the waiting. And so like a lot of people waited. We wait for a lot of things, and so how did you what did you feel last year? I know you talked about not knowing if this year would come, but was there ever a point where you just like knew that something that God was going to come through, or was it always kind of the hangover? I'm just curious of what if.
I think it's a little of both because obviously I've always been optimistic and I know reality, and especially with a lot of my friends that you pray and you didn't get exactly what you prayed for. You got what God had planned. And sometimes God's plan is different from yours. And so I think I had that in the back of my mind, but I think I prayed more during my transplant seasons than I ever did in my life. I mean, probably every hour of the day, just talking, just saying, God, just get me through the next hour, get me through the next day. If this is what you have planned for me, I'm fighting. And so I knew that it was a possibility that I could get through it. But obviously, with transplant, there's no guarantee when it's coming. And I'd had all those people test, and it didn't quite turn out. And then, of course, it came from a total different direction that anyone expected, which was a deceased donor. And so I knew that the waiting, and see, like I waited longer for kidney than I did for lungs twice. And so during the waiting periods, you're kind of accepting that it could go a way you don't want it to go. But I think inside of me, I was kind of like, okay, I'm getting discouraged. God, and I tell God, I'm getting discouraged. You know, it seems like it's not coming. I'm doing all I can do, Lord. I just need this opportunity, and I promise I'll do as great as I can do. And I think I never gave up. I never gave up on God, and I would keep telling myself, it looks bad now. It feels bad now, but you're not down and out. God can come in at the last second. I remembered that from my lungs. I mean, just knowing that in the last second, he can turn it around. And so that's exactly what he did with the kidney. Last minute, I had less than 5% kidney function. He turned it around, came from a total different direction. So I think I knew it was a possibility. It could be something I prayed for and didn't get an answer in the way I wanted. But I think I kept so much hope in the Lord and knowing that He can, at a moment's notice, turn it into such a big blessing. And I knew, and this may sound silly, but I kind of knew I had so many people praying that didn't even know me personally, that maybe saw my video or my post on social media, or somebody told them about me. And it's not an ego thing to say, oh, well, I had, the entire country praying, or even people outside the country praying. That's not an ego thing to say. It's saying, look at what God did with this story. I wanted people to be able that were praying to see a testimony, to see a miracle happen. Because at the end of the day, their faith might have been strengthened. And so I just knew God was having me hang on for something. I just had to hang on. And so I just never gave up. Every time it got hard, I said, God, please, please just give me what I need to get through this day, because I cannot do this without you.
And that seems to be exactly what he did. It was like every time, and and I'm very careful in my language on here because I'm not saying that God is like our genie in a bottle or our Amazon package. Like I've said that a lot here recently because I think that so many people want it zap, 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 zap. And
Hmm.
like
And sometimes he plans it for you to go through. Because if we just had it delivered like the Amazon package, what are you going to learn in that? And I mean, like, yeah, he didn't want me to go through suffering, but through that time, like, even my songwriting came out more. Like, I would sit and I have a recliner that was my granddad's, which is something special, which I have a song Granddad on digital platforms, and it's a song that I wrote just thinking back of my granddad and watching me in that chair learn guitar for the first time. And that's the chair I did dialysis in. And it was almost like I would feel a hug every day. And I could feel that. I mean, my songwriting just started coming out because I would, obviously you can't do much with tubes hooked to you that's got your blood going in and out. And so I would just sit and think and write songs. And almost like, I have one song that's called Dear God, and the start of the song says, Hey God, and it's like a telephone effect that I put on it to say, Hey God, or yeah, Hey God, it's me again. Did you get my letter? Now, obviously, we can't physically write a letter and send it up to heaven, but verbally, I was writing a letter. In my heart, I was writing a letter to say, Hey God, because that's how I felt every day, like, Hey God, it's me again. I'm still praying. I'm still leaning on you. I'm still waiting. I'm still wondering, because I would tell people it's not like you could get one of those little black 8 balls that you had as a child, and somehow you would be oblivious to saying, I'm going to believe what it told me about it was going to happen. You don't have that to say when it's coming, when it's going to get better. It's all about walking by faith, not by sight. And that's literally what I had to do. And because I had done it before, I think that helped me with this time to say, okay, don't give up. And I always tell people, don't count God out, because just when you think it won't happen, He can do it.
And I think that every single person, and I say this, every single person has a different perspective on the idea of gratitude and how they get through those difficult seasons. One of one of the things that I think we miss is we want to compare ourselves. We want to compare our stories. We want to compare our, I mean, heck, we want to compare our Thanksgiving meals on Facebook. We want to compare our Thanksgiving pictures, or we want to compare the way our Christmas trees look, or we want to compare and we want to compare the way our turkey smelt or the way our ham was cooked. And like the way that you process, the way that you have come on the other side of all of these organ donations has impacted people in different ways. Um, it's impacted me in the sense of like I still have my friend who is here. We can still do things like this. Um, we can we can still have conversations like this, and look, I want to cherish that, and I want to be thankful for that. How do you think? Those are just on my perspective. How do you think this Thanksgiving is going to look? Because obviously it's going to be different. Um, everyone is different. Every Thanksgiving's got its little flares, but this one's got a new level, an extra level of gratitude in it. Because you have you've had 2 sets of lungs and now a kidney. And like you look great, you sound great, you feel stronger. You notice I didn't say you always feel great because I'm sure you still have
Mhm.
those days, but you feel a sense of strength. And so, what are you hoping to kind of see? Like, what are you looking forward to this Thanksgiving?
I think, well, going back. So I'm actually 13 years out. On November 12th, I was 13 years out from my first transplant. And there's a statistic, which I always say I'm breaking statistics, that when you get past the 5 year mark, that is like, obviously every year is a victory, but when you get past that 5 year mark with a transplant, that is like the huge victory, because there's a statistic a lot of people don't make it past there sometimes. And that's just because maybe chronic rejection, those sorts of things. But I was able to do that, and now I'll be 6 years from my second double lung in January. And so now I'm 6 months out from a kidney. So for my Thanksgiving, the reason it's going to look different is because of the transformation, because of the gratitude. Because when I sit down at the Thanksgiving table and I wake up that morning, I know it's not just because of me alone. It's because of selfless strangers that decided to give life. It's because God said, "Hey, I'm not done with you." It's because we can actually breathe a sigh of relief this year. That's not to say things can't happen with anyone, but it's just appreciating the moment. And
Mm.
I want to speak on something, and it's kind of drove me crazy because there's this whole thing going around on social media, and I actually had to like unfollow some of the famous people that I know. Luckily, not too many, but it's this viral thing with TikTok and Instagram where people speak about things they never have been through with organ donation. They're discouraging, they're making it sound like some horrific scheme to get people's organs, or that they're stealing people's organs and they'll let you die to give them to. None of that happens. And if I wasted my time trying to correct all these ignorant people, it would waste my precious time. But I really want to speak, because if anybody's listening to this that happens to be on that side, I want to say this: until it has been in your family and at your doorstep, organ donation really isn't personal, but it can become personal very fast. And don't be ignorant about something that you've never experienced that disrespects donors, the donor families, the recipients, the recipient families, because organ donation is something God designed. There's a reason why they can take someone's organ when it's their time and give it to someone else and let them continue on. And for me, that's like the biggest legacy. Like, I feel so honored that I don't know that stranger, but I feel like I know them. And if I could see them, I would just give them the biggest hug and cry and say, "Thank you. You have no idea what you have given me." And I think that people that don't have a close relationship with organ donation cannot see that as well, because it is such a transformation. It's giving people life and opportunities. And so for me, the holidays is also awesome, but it's everyday life. I wake up every day with a feeling of Thanksgiving. I wake up every day and say, "Thank you." Even if today doesn't go exactly how I want it to, I'm alive. That's a victory. And I think me living with that perspective and being through a humbling experience. I mean, of course, your best friend might do something for you and you appreciate it. But when it's a stranger, when you have no idea, and I have written the donor families, I haven't written my kidney one, but I'm planning on it. Never heard back from the lungs, and that's okay. But I wanted them to know how much I appreciated their loved one, that I didn't know their face, their name, anything about them. I didn't even know their gender, but they were a hero. And so for me, when I sit at the holidays, I say, I know what a hero is. And of course, your mom is your hero, or you may have someone else in your life that's your hero. But it doesn't mean you can't have 5 or 6 heroes. So for me, when I sit down at the table, I'm saying, I have 3 heroes that were strangers. And I'm also getting to sit with my other hero, which is my mom. And so we're able to breathe a sigh of relief. My mom ran dialysis. So that was a big, big strain on her. She doesn't have to do that anymore. We actually just said she went to one of my cousin's wedding and she had to travel with some other family members to go. And we were talking about last year she couldn't have done that because she couldn't have left me for the whole day. But she could do that this year. It's little things like that that we say, ah, thank you. And so it's just appreciating, like, and I know some, I can't stand when people complain because I say, there's always something to be grateful for, always. And as we approach Thanksgiving, I just think people, you may say, well, they're thankful for material things, but be grateful for those things that are not material things because as Champ has gone through, now they have family without his dad there physically. You never know when that picture can change. And so you want to appreciate the heck out of what's there now.
I think it was so interesting, and I hope that people caught this. I think there's a lot of little things out there that we can talk and share a lot of content, but I think there needs to be this we need to stop for a minute because I heard you do something just now that I don't know if people grasp what you did when you stopped and you were talking about your mom getting to travel with other family members to your cousin's wedding. And then in the middle of that, in the middle of that part of the conversation, you stopped and you said,
Mm-hmm.
"I can breathe. Like I can, I can breathe."
Mm-hmm.
And we don't and she doesn't have to be there to just watch me breathe or to give me dialysis or to like we don't realize those it's almost like what I preached on a little bit yesterday. You reap what you sow. And so those little things ran out big consequences. The the little thing of not being able to leave because she had to make sure that maybe the dialysis were going well, or maybe make sure the dialysis wasn't affecting you on the other scale of the cystic fibrosis, and it wasn't like affecting your body or your functions, or like we just to sit in those moments. And I think like every little thing adds up. Every little consequence or every little decision or choice
I mean,
comes.
even like down to groceries. I mean, people may think, well, what's so magnitude about that? When you're in kidney failure, for one, you don't really want to eat much, but you have to watch everything you consume. And I could eat and it wasn't enjoyable because I would feel bad. But my entire family went through like we didn't buy high sodium stuff. We didn't buy like I do try to stay away from prepackaged, but like we had to alter what we ate because my mom wasn't gonna sit there and eat with my dad a
You wasn't
steak
going
and
to
potato
you wasn't going to
and
eat a steak and potato in front of you and sit there like a puppy dog and be like, this is so
yeah, I
good.
mean, it was just like our whole family. Now, that's not to say we've gone wild with our eating choices, but just like we recently went out for my mom's birthday this past weekend, we went to a really nice restaurant, and I didn't have to think I can't have this. Some people would think, well, what's so big about it? But it was the saying I didn't have to think when I looked at the menu or the trays coming out, I can't have that. I could enjoy it. I could laugh and have a good time. And I didn't have to think my mom could laugh and have a good time and enjoy her day without worrying, is Heather okay? Is she feeling all right? Is she gonna what or about the dialysis when we or the 4 hours that we have to do? I gotta prepare and then I have to get up early and get it
We're
started and
And let me be very clear because I hate that we are in such a society now that I have to clarify everything, and I don't feel like I have to. We're not saying that people live their life on the edge. Like even when your mom was doing all that, I'm not saying that she was living her life like scared, like a scaredy cat, like she was
yeah,
mortified. But I am saying that when you have walked in those shoes and you get to step out of those shoes and put newer shoes on and not have to worry about like there's a freedom
absolutely.
that is so much greater. Like I can remember phone calls in the morning when dad was sick. I'll just use this as an example and thinking he had a rough night, maybe. Okay, what's he gonna be like in the morning? And sometimes it felt like we were like living on the eggshell of, oh gosh, is he
What's
gonna
gonna happen next?
and now that that is no longer there, we can breathe. We can say, okay, I can go here. I can do this. Like mom now can go. She does nursing home visitations with the church every week. She's a part of a nursing home ministry. Like she can do all those things without any question with that and the same goes for you. Like your mom can go and leave you and not have to call every 5 minutes or every hour and say, is Heather okay? Has she eaten this? Like we don't you don't get what that does for people.
Hmm. And obviously, I'm still going to have bumps in the road. I still have cystic fibrosis, so she's always going to be a mother of a child with CF that she has to go to the hospital sometimes and doctor's appointments. But she does have that freedom. And she doesn't have to worry about if her and her sister want to go out shopping or just go out for the day. Well, is she close enough to the house? And am I going to have to call her 15 minutes after she's in and say, hey, I can't? We recently went out with her sister and just went out one day to go look at Christmas stuff in a store. And I didn't have to say 10 minutes after we were there, oh, I'm dizzy. Oh, I need to go to the car. We got to go home. And it's not that it was a burden or an inconvenience to my family because they've always been accepting of that. But it makes me feel like I can give them freedom. And I think, well, we're talking about my story, but it's really for anyone that's facing anything like that. Whether it's sickness or maybe it's another situation, I think people just they lose sight of that just because they haven't been through an experience like maybe our family and your family or someone else's, that you see these Facebook feeds and you say, oh, they just have it all together. Oh, they have this. Oh, they have that. Like you said, comparing. And maybe they don't know what it's like to go what we've through. We hope they don't have to know. But I think there is a gratitude of what we've been through because I always say, I'm not glad I had to go through suffering, but there was a lesson in it all. God was building my character, He was building my wisdom and my perspective. And if I had to go through that in order to achieve where I am now, then that's what was planned. So I don't have any bitterness to say, well, I had to go through that to get to here. And I'm sure your mom feels the same way. And so I think as we wrap up today, we're just trying to share the takeaway message of no matter where you are in life right now, find that Thanksgiving. Don't just find it once a year. Find it every single day that you have life, even when things don't look ideal. There's always a reason to be thankful. And I can't tell you what that is because I don't know your life, but there is always a reason to be thankful. And if you're also, the personal choice of being an organ donor, please look at my story and know, and several of our guests that have been on that have received it, to see it does give life. It gives a chance and it allows a testimony. And I know that my story would have ended when I was 10 years old and 20 years old and all that if I didn't have a future at having an organ. And I have endless gratitude for that. I have endless gratitude for where I am. And I can tell you that definitely ain't just once a year. That is every single day, all day long. Even in my sleep, I am grateful. And it's just like Champ says, he wakes up every day to gratitude. And so, as we approach Thanksgiving, I hope that if this episode does anything for you, that you can reflect and find your Thanksgiving and just know that even if things are not ideal right now, as Champ says, things may not be perfect, but God makes perfect things. And there's a reason for what you're going through. Not that He wants to cause suffering or pain, but there's always a testimony. And through those tests becomes the testimony. And I'm just very humbled and grateful by mine.
Well, again, we hope that you've enjoyed today's episode about Thanksgiving. We do hope that this Thanksgiving season is a season of thanks, a season of gratitude, and might I even add, a season of praise to the one who gives us life, who gives us the ability to share life. And if that's something that you feel called to do, we want to encourage it. We want to support you in it, and we hope that you have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving.
And don't dry your turkey out. Make sure it's moist.
Make sure it's moist. I love it. I love it.
All right,
I love
y'all. Y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving and a blessed week, and God bless.